But I think, like, the Yankees aren't whole right now. You know, they're not whole because now all of a sudden you have different relievers that are going to be playing front and center, and they're your second line relievers. And you better hope that they put it together tonight because this is what it's going to come down to. This whole thing is their starting pitching, in my eyes, against the Yankees bullpen. That's what it comes down to.
I agree with that, except for one thing. I don't necessarily agree with the fact that you're right that they're not whole per se, but they're also not just depleted either. I mean, you still do have Canely will be available. You're still going to have Chapman available for the ninth inning.
Yeah, but Green and Robertson are not available.
Except for, well, here's the thing about that, and I read the same thing you read. I also listened to Joe Girardi from last night. I'm not so sure that they're not available. I think in a spot, if he needs them, he seemed very non-committal to saying they're not available, which tells me if there's a specific situation, you could see one of them, maybe both of them up. But you're right, not to the extent that we've seen them.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe Chad Green. But I don't think Robertson. But I do think that at the end of the day, what this all comes down to the starting pitching of the Indians,
definitely,
against the bullpen of the Yankees. Everything else is relatively even. I mean, you have. Although I will say this: the last time the Indians were in, They basically took care of business with the Yankees.
I remember you saying they showed them who the top team is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was right in the middle of that 22-game win streak. I think it was games 5, 6, and 7. And then the Indians went on to win 22 in a row. But if you ask me, and everybody does the edges, everybody does the matchups and all that other stuff. For me, it's pretty simple. It comes down to whether or not Sonny Gray can give you 5 or 6 innings tonight.
Well, this is why he went out and got him, and he lost a lot of games, 4 and 7, though he pitched well. But you are right; it's going to come down to the Yankee offense against the Cleveland pitching. And how about this idea? The notion of 2 things here on the whole Corey Kluber thing. We were led to believe pretty much yesterday and then the day before when we found out what Terry Francona was going to do, pretty much led to believe that Corey Kluber had kind of a big say in this, that he really wanted to be on regular rest, that it was probably best for him. Well, watching Terry Francona yesterday, it sounds like it was a decision that he made, and then they went to Kluber and said, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it. And I'm not saying Kluber had an issue with it, but what if maybe they're outsmarting themselves just a little bit? What if? And I know the chances, I think, have come down, but, I mean, what I read last night and this morning is that it might rain Friday, and then if that's the case, you'd get pushed back to Saturday, off day would be gone, and then all of a sudden you would have Kluber in a Game 2 on Saturday without that normal rest, and then if you needed him in a Game 5, he's going on short rest, which if you go back to last year, good, not great.